The 2025 Bathurst 1000 will go down in history as one of the greatest races ever on the mountain. By any measure, even on the global motorsport stage, the skill that was on display up there, particularly in the back half of that race, was profound. But what was really special was actually won from a totally unpredictable 18th spot on the grid. And it was won by a team and its drivers who took on that mountain all day, 7 hours, 1,000 kilometres, and they took it on with a laser-like focus, and they hit the front on lap 157 of 161. Penrite Racing, and what an incredible team effort it was. But I want to hear straight from the drivers, those that spearheaded this momentous outcome. So I guess the first question I want to ask both of you guys is, why was the week so ordinary? You know, we'll get to the big ending, but we literally in the telecast had almost not factored you out. You can't factor you guys out, but by your own standards, it was an ordinary run into the race.
Yeah, for sure. I think we definitely struggled with quali speed. The 1 lap pace for us wasn't strong. We ended up qualifying down in 18th, which wasn't. I was very disappointed with that. I really want to make the shootout every time we go to Bathurst, and unfortunately we missed out on it. So that probably was, a lot of the factor to sort of not being right in the build up, and probably being a main contender. But yeah, hopefully not a lot of people wrote us out.
No, well, and wrote us out is too strong a word, but I mean, and it's sort of a great start to a happy ending, isn't it? But Garth, I mean, I didn't get to see Matt a lot over the weekend, other than when we do our interviews, but I see a bit more of you, and I've got to be honest, Garth, I know you well enough. I could see you were challenged. You was not you personally, but you knew there was troubles afoot in the speed of the car early on.
Yeah, we had work to do. It's as simple as that. And I think we were too good too early. So we were, I think, end of practice 1, we were third. Matt was third. We put a new tyre on and he was third. So when you're sort of that good early, you're like, well, we probably don't need to tune the car too much. So then you get trapped a little bit thinking, oh, well, we're not too bad. But the track changes a lot. It evolves a lot. So it's almost like you got to almost be disciplined and write those early practice sessions off and just build into the weekend. So I think we were too strong too early, then too reluctant to change the car on Friday going into qualifying. And then I knew run 1, basically, when he did his first run. I'm like, we're a chunk of time away here.
Yeah.
And as a driver, you always get faster and faster and faster every run. But every driver gets faster and faster and faster every run. And I knew he was going to get better, but not the rate that we needed. The car was behind. And we proved it with both cars. Both cars where they needed to be. So, yeah, sort of halfway through qualifying, I was like, well, we're going to need to go to work tomorrow for the race car because we won't be doing the shootout.
So it is, to me, it's a really interesting part of this story, because number one, front running teams like you at Bathurst typically don't. I mean, the history shows you just don't qualify back there. But the great story for me then is about the bounce back. Now the first part of that is a lot of the other 4 teams, and to me I reckon they deserve a bit of a slap. We knew the Camaro was going to be quick in a straight line at Bathurst, but you can either let that distract you or get on with the job. And you can fight your parity battles wherever you need to fight them, but your team clearly made an intentional decision. I didn't see any of you guys banging on about it like other drivers and teams at all. You were focused on the job at hand.
Yeah, look, that was what we'd always focused on. I've certainly never wanted to get caught up and talking about that stuff. It's very political, and We've as a team always been a really big believer that we've always focused on ourselves and trying to do the best job we can and be the leading forward runner. And it, during those couple of days of Bathurst, we weren't the leading forward guys, so we had work to do personally. So that's what we decided to put our energy into, and we certainly made the race car a bit better over Saturday. We dedicated a lot of time to it, but yeah, still it's something that, I personally don't really like getting into. I'm not really a big fan of talking about that stuff, and I just try and focus on driving.
And Garth, I mean, it's very easy for someone like you to get dragged in because of your position in the sport into the politics, and you seem to be able to navigate your way past it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the mantra at Penrite Racing is that we don't get involved publicly with the parity discussion at all. particularly for Matt and Kai. Their focus is drive the race car really, really fast.
Yep.
There's other people to worry about the politics. And I do get dragged into the politics a little bit in the background, but I make sure I very consciously shield Matt from that when we're sharing the car together. And then publicly, until you're the fastest Ford, don't complain, because if there's another Ford faster than you, do a better job.
Well put.
So that's for us. That's always been a team mantra.
Yeah.
And even when we get to being the fastest Ford, fight your battles, but fight them the correct way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously, I can't pay enough credit to your team. That was really obvious to me up and down that pit lane over the weekend. There were teams, including during the race, that were seriously distracted, and you guys weren't. So let's go to Sunday morning. Race morning, we saw the clouds emerging. Showers were looking now pretty certain. We had a bit of a gag on air about you having, like Kiwis do, you got webs between your toes like a duck, love the water, and you do. You were doing the rain dance. So did it start to sort of the vibe in the team? Okay, you made the car a bit quicker by Arvo, but hey, this wet's going to suit us. Was that on the radar?
Yeah, 100%. We'd been talking about it a lot, during the week, and it'd become pretty certain for us that it was going to be raining. But yeah, we sort of got into the start of the race, and I definitely felt like the car had improved a bit, since Friday and Saturday. So that was certainly a positive, getting out of the car and handing it back over to him after my first, and I thought, the times were okay. We probably would have been okay to race for a top 5, maybe, especially coming back from where we were. So, yeah, that was encouraging, but it all unfolded so fast. As soon as he got back in, it's like as soon as it started spitting, that's just when the action started. And I was sort of sitting in the garage getting a little bit nervous because he was trying to take his chances and racing everyone. And no, it was really good though, really good. The team made ultimately the right call, especially there was 3 or 4 times where we needed to make the right decision, and ultimately that's what led to us getting the track position.
I'll come to that, Garth. I want to talk about your first stint. I consider you a mate, and I get joy out of watching. You're not the youngest bloke in the lane anymore, but that brings something else to the team. Some leadership in the team, and I see that. And we all know as you get older, I've been there. It's harder to be fast all the time, but you must have got out of that. That was a really good first stint, mate. It was solid, nice touch up with Loungy. I reckon that was stellar. I'm personally, as an old bloke with you guys, I really enjoyed that, right? But it was a statesman-like stint for me. You did what you had to do, took the car forward. You must have been pleased getting out of the car at that stage.
Yeah, look, I was reasonably pleased with the first stint. I probably would have been happier if we made a couple more spots, but it was about setting the tone. You got to set the tone for the race.
There you go.
And we starting 18th, the tone is that we're going to go forwards. So you had to race aggressively. You had to stand your ground. I gained probably 4 or 5 and lost maybe 2 just with a bit of chest that was going on. But you've also, at that stage of the race, in the first 25 laps, you've got to make sure that you're there for the end. So you've got to play a little bit smart. So, yeah, look, I got out of the car at the first stint, and like all race car drivers, you're hypercritical of the things you didn't do well, and you don't really focus on the stuff you did do well because that's a given. So, yeah, look, it was okay. For me, it was more just getting ourselves in the right spot for when that rain came.
Yep.
Because you knew the rain was coming. We knew it all week.
Yep.
I did some practice in the rain on Thursday in the co-driver session, so I understood the tyre warm-up. I understood where the car was going to be working, where it wasn't. So it was just getting ourselves as far forward as we can when the rain came, because that was the big opportunity to really get the track position we needed.
Well, it was a big opportunity to go forward. It was also a big opportunity to lose out. Now, I stood out on the pit wall a lot of that race with Couchy, your team principal, who loves to stand. He reminds me of Ross Stone. They're the only 2 blokes that stand out, and they love to read the race from the wall. They keep it very organic, and I love that. I really do. But what he also does, which not enough teams do, he just keeps looking, because I'm a bit of a farmer, right? So he keeps asking me, what's it going to do, but he makes weather decisions, looking up there, and you guys made the right decisions. And I watched Tickford next door just take themselves out of the race making, poor decisions. And I don't like giving them a whack, but they deserve one. They were poor decisions. So you made the right decisions, but I got to ask them, at what point, because you're migrating 14th and you're in the top 5, then, we're getting well into the back end of the race, you work your way up into the top 3. At what point did you or think we can win this?
For me, it was probably about 30, 35 to go. We were around 4th and 3rd, and certainly thought we had the speed to win the race. There was it was strange because it's a lot of young guys up the front. You know, like myself, including myself. You know, so it was sort of, I found myself in a position that I haven't really experienced before, where we ended up all racing together. And usually we're all racing together and we're sort of in the mid pack and it's really dirty, you know, and it's lap 5 of a sprint race or something like that. But this was for Bathurst, so it was different, you know. And those guys certainly knew what the stakes were at the time as well. And it was I was sort of just taking my time a little bit. I knew that, you know, there was obviously a lot more of the race to play out. Knew there was going to be a lot more safety cars to come as well, and I could see that the front guys were getting pretty heated. They could see the checkered flag, and you know, they were going for that, and I was sort of just taking my time, and I knew I'd eventually get to the front because we had the car speed. But yeah, it was just a waiting game that we were trying to drive around the conditions because they were pretty appalling at some of those stages too. So yeah, there was a couple of laps there where we literally, you know, I was just focused on trying to keep it on the track.
Well, hold that thought, mate. I want to come back to that last 5 laps. Garth, you've now, what, 5 times Bathurst winner?
6.
That's 6, isn't it? 6 times Bathurst winner, right? So you've seen a few. You've done your stints. You've given the car back where he needs it to be. You know he's a talent. What were your thoughts sitting there those last 30 laps, 20 laps from your position inside the garage with the headset on?
Yeah, look, I was similar sort of thing, maybe even a bit earlier than 30 laps. I was like, oh, we're a chance. We're a chance. And that's all you can ask for at Bathurst is being a chance, because you know in the last 20, 15 laps, something's going to happen. It always happens at Bathurst. It always does. So I knew that we were a chance to put ourselves in a position to win the race. When old mate decided he was going to go around the outside at the end of Conrod through the chase in pouring rain at 300k an hour, he was going to go around the outside for the lead of the race. I wasn't totally sure that we were still a chance then. But when he popped out the other side and the thing was still going forwards, it was actually quite a calming moment. It was like, yeah, okay.
So if he can pull that off.
If we can survive that, we are a real chance, like a real chance. Because I knew that he had margin in him. I knew that he was driving it with margin. The team were doing a really good job on the radio to Matt, communicating. I might have been helping Jack, you know, with what the right words to say at the right time, because I was just like, well, what would I want to know in this moment?
Yes.
And that's what we were giving to Matt. And that just kept the whole garage reasonably calm in that last sort of 20 laps, and it enabled us to make the right decisions in the right time.
That's a great take, Garth, and that's, I guess, what someone like him brings to the team. So, Matty, even in my role and Garth's role now in the broadcast, we endlessly try and articulate to the audience what it's like being in the car, and you just can't. No matter how hard you try, you just can't. So let's go to those last laps, because, and we'll pay you a compliment. Well, 2 compliments I want to pay you and the other guys around you. That move at the chase, people need to know that's at 300 or nearly 300 k's an hour.
Yeah.
Right in the wet, incredible skill. But then I go to those last laps, and I've been around the game my whole life, and I don't think I've seen a better display of driver skill for our category amongst that group of 3 young blokes, and even Davey Reynolds coming at the back there. It was a great effort by Davey. But to see Cooper step up, to see Jimmy Golding step up, and to see yourself step up when the biggest prize is right at the end of your nose, the conditions are woeful, it's all to play for, and no one stuck it in the fence. At every moment in the car, every application of the brake, you're at the limit of adhesion. Every time you turn it, you're at the limit of adhesion, and every time you're near the throttle coming off a corner, you're at the limit of adhesion. There is nothing left.
No, it was challenging. You know, to put it frankly, like I said before, there was bits, you know, during the last 20 laps or so where I was literally just trying to keep it on the road. And I think probably a lot of the others were trying to do the same.
We had to talk him into it a few times.
I know, like under safety.
Everyone else is struggling as well. You're okay. Everyone else is in the same boat.
That's an important thing, isn't it? Everyone's in the same boat.
So, and when you're driving, you're not thinking like that. You're thinking about what you're doing and what's out the window in front of you. And there was some pretty trying conditions, especially with all the rivers and everything, you know, Bathurst has to present.
What was the hardest part of the track then? Where's the biggest struggle?
For me, it was definitely down through the chase, because there was so many rivers across there. There was probably 2 or 3 major ones, and you had to get it down a couple of gears to get it through the kink. And basically, every time you came in there, you're anticipating it to hit the river and then wait for the rear to go, and you're sort of almost ready to catch it as it's doing it. And so yeah, that was obviously a big moment of the lap. But even just trying to manage, like the other one was probably going into the grate and not making sure you were going to hit the white line down on the bottom.
Matty, can I just jump in and say, because the Bathurst is about the mountain, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what, and this game for any elite athlete, I guess, it's risk versus reward, right?
Yeah.
So, you know I talk about it a lot, but, you know, your left brain is trying to deal with the here and now, managing the grip and all. But surely the right side of your brain must have been thinking about that trophy and what success looks and feels like before you're at the end of the race. Yeah. And that's hard. You've got to put that out.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like, you know, people say that a lot, you know, oh, you must have been so... The pressure must have been huge. You knew what was at stake. But for me, actually being in the car, I probably didn't realise, you know, what was at stake, because I was so immersed in the racing and each corner and each throttle and every single time I drove around the track. I was really focused on trying to make the right decisions in the right time, B, trying to go as fast as I can, and sort of also manage everything around that in terms of just the guys racing at the front. And especially after I came off, I knew that, you know, I was going to catch back up to them because I knew we were both faster than Cooper. So that was never really a worry for me. But it was in turn then sort of managing that whole, you know, last 5 laps. And you know, obviously they were both in front of me, and kind of trying to structure your last couple of laps around what you're going to do. And then obviously when I saw them come together, you know, you're just like, oh, that took a lot of work off my shoulders. now it's easy now, you know. So it's funny. Like I said before, I probably didn't realise what you know, when I watched back the videos of everyone in the garage and seeing how excited everyone was and the energy around it. You know, in the car I was really relaxed, which again comes back to what Garth was saying about Jack, you know, being on the radio and just telling me to calm down and take a breath.
Yeah.
Basically every lap.
So equally it's hard for you guys in the garage, Garth, but can I ask you, you know, 6 wins now, mate, where and I hate asking this question, where does it actually rank? Because it's not an easy question. But so forget the number, but this has got to be up there because of the nature in which the way this win happened.
Yeah, look, this one's up there certainly for multiple reasons. One, because of the nature, starting 18th, having a poor lead up to the race, fighting our way back into position, surviving the rain, you know, everything that went on, you know, with Matt's last, you know, 15, 20 laps. But also the way that the team has grown over the last 3 years. That, you know, the team is a very young team. It's young in its experience, but it's also young as a business. So, you know, just the way that, you know, Jack Bell, Matt's engineer, he's 26, the way that he managed the whole situation for the last 15, 20 minutes of that race was exceptional. It really was. The way that the owners were so excited about the situation that we found ourselves in. You know, me personally being involved with this team, not just as a driver, but also helping grow the team as well. So there's so many facets to this one that's separate to the other 5, because the other 5 I was a driver. Just turn up, drive the race car, that's your job. Yep. Whereas this one, you know, helping old mate develop as a driver. Yep. Yeah, this one's pretty cool.
That is cool to hear. And Matty, I guess Bathurst is full of sad stories, and I'd probably put Glenn Seaton at the top of them. You know, genuinely great drivers that never won it and should have, probably multiple times. Has it registered with you? Just, I mean, you're young, you've now won it. You may never get the chance again. I mean, that's just how this game is. Not to say you won't earn a chance, but it's just, you know, how Bathurst is. You know, has it really registered with you the enormity of winning Bathurst?
Look, to be honest with you, it probably has. You know, it's not even probably a
week. I'm just checking his pulse and his...
Did you see him?
There is a heartbeat.
Did you see him when he got out of the car? Did you see him when he got out of the car?
Oh, true.
And Jess was going to interview him.
Yeah. I think if you're doing backward handstands,
it looked like he pulled up at the milk bar to get a litre of milk. Like, man, you just won the biggest race of your career.
I think that's part of why
that was why he could do what he could do.
That's I've had a lot of people comment on that and say, well, why didn't you celebrate more? Like, I would have been doing donuts and hanging out of a car on the track, you know. And Yeah, I probably do regret. I didn't do a bit more in the moment, but I was just like, I had nothing going on. I was just, oh my god! And then you cross a line, and then you're like, what just okay, it's happened. Okay, let's just sit here for us. Okay, and then you're kind of just trying to take that in, and yeah, like I said, it probably wasn't until a week and a half later where I kind of kept reminding myself, man, we just won Bathurst, you know, and it's sort of, I don't like saying it too many times to myself because I don't want to like alter my ego or anything like that. But we worked so hard, for that whole weekend because we were in the trenches for a lot of it, and it felt like it was really earned, like for everyone, I think, because it was a long weekend. And sitting here now, it probably still hasn't quite registered with me, but I think after this year's finished, we'll all take our time to reflect on that, and I think we'll all go back and watch it and have a good celebration of it because it's certainly earned.
So that's a timely answer to wind up. I mean, how incredible that this would happen with a young team in Penrite's 100th year. I mean, we laugh about it, but you talk about they can dine on this now for a whole year, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
They've backed the team, put their money where their mouth is, put the products in the car, and this isn't a product plug, but it's just a great story from a great Aussie company that everyone loves. So to see the underdog come from the back there, who did you call, Garth, to pull that off on the 100th year? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, when we sort of launched the livery of the car and the 100 years on the side of it, and we did all that pre-race, I mean, you're sort of joking, wouldn't it be a great way to celebrate Penrite's 100th year if we can give them a race win, sort of one of those sales pitchy things that you always do. But It was like, wow, like for Penrite, like their commitment to the sport, that they're an underdog in the business as well. When you look at how the size of the other oil companies they compete against, they punch above their weight.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, it is a cool story. Well, can I just say to wrap up, boys, thank you for your time and the chat, and articulating it so openly and honestly. As a bloke that's been around for a while, competed in a few, but watched a whole lot more, you inspired me with what you did up there, that so much joy can still be got from the race in our sport and the contest that Bathurst is. So I do hope I hope the moment really registered with you, because it is an important one. And again, congratulations. A truly great win and a great moment on the mountain.
Cheers, mate. Thanks,
Thank
Parker.
you.